And I think what Ron Paul points out is that after a decade of war, in fact, it's not, and that there is a statistically significant percentage of people that are participating in these early contests that are part of the Republican base that are tired of, quote unquote, the military adventurism abroad. And I think that debate, that fissure has been opened up in the party, and I think it's something that will play out over.
Well, John Huntsman says he wants Afghanistan over.
That gives an opening, though, in these debates this weekend that Chris and David were talking about for Gingrich. Because if I'm Gingrich, if I'm on the stage like I was in '04, I walk in that debate and talk about the extreme positions of Ron Paul, both on the right and the left, because he's as extreme on the right with some of the stuff that's come out on him as the left, and say, but Mr. Romney, you said you would vote for him. Mr. Santorum, you said you would vote for him. I'm the only one on this stage that said I wouldn't vote for Ron Paul. And I would use that as a stick. So as much as Rachel is right, they've seemed to divorce themselves. But when they were asked the question, would you vote for Ron Paul, Santorum and Romney said they would vote for him, extremist baggage and all. I would hang there around their neck like a medallion.
Ron Paul has tapped into something that the Republican Party hasn't had. Young people, socially liberal, fiscally responsible, and they don't want anything to do with war. It's almost like a movement. And when I was down in Iowa, his stump speech is almost exactly what he says in the debates. He never talks about the Iowa manufacturing or the Iowa farmer or the small town health care. I mean, it's all this big talk about how bad America is and what we've got to do with the Fed and everything else. You know the routine. But young people are gravitating to him. I saw that in the room in Newton, Iowa. It's the socially liberal, fiscal responsible kids that don't want to pay for anything else, so they don't want to go to war. Now, how big a tent is that with the Republican Party? Only time will tell.
We've just got some first numbers.
And no one cared. No one knew he was doing it. Running as a Republican puts him in televised debates, and people talk about what he thinks, and that's why he's doing it.
Let me interrupt here for a moment. We've just got a couple of our very first numbers here, very, very, very small numbers of numbers. But here's what we've got here in terms of our Iowa results thus far. 9, 4, and 3, those are vote totals. Right now, 43%, 19%, and 14%, the division of labor between Ron Paul, Rick Perry, and Mitt Romney. This is only 1% of the vote in, so extrapolate from this at your peril. At this point, the NBC call on this is still that this is too early to call, and that the three candidates contending to win in Iowa tonight are Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, and Rick Santorum. I want to go to Chris Matthews in Des Moines. Chris, on the issue of whether or not Ron Paul's supporters are available to be courted by any means in the Republican Party, or if they're seen as a species apart. What's your view on that?
Well, I think the Republican Party has, unfortunately for it, built itself over the droppings of the Democratic Party for about 50 years. First of all, they picked up all the Dixiecrats, all the segregationists who went from the Democratic Party after the Civil Rights Bill of '64 and the Voting Rights Act. They all became Republicans because the Republicans were seen as the more rightist party. Then, of course, you got the moral majority who left after the prayer decision. They all moved over there. And now you've got the neocons, who are formerly liberals, some of them, all moved over there. They are so junk-laden with these droppings for the Democratic Party, they can't think. If they could think, if they were a dynamic political party, they would listen to Ron Paul, because they would hear in him the voice of Barry Goldwater, the old conservative party that took a reasonable view towards foreign policy, that wasn't crazy about this religious zeal to go to war in the Middle East over and over and over again, that wasn't moved around by the neocons. It would be a party that could think about foreign policy. The Republican Party today can't open its mind to Ron Paul's reasonable question: how can we keep overextending ourselves in the world at no cost? Because there is a cost. It keeps driving us into more and more involvement in foreign policy, more and more defense spending because of more and more involvement. And yet they can't think. And I think everybody tonight has said so. Their mind is closed because of these droppings they've picked up from the Democratic Party. The neocons have closed down their mind, just like the segregationists closed down their mind about civil rights, and the moral majority closed down their minds about social issues. The party is dying of this intake, this effluent from the Democratic Party. That's my thought.
Chris Matthews, I got to say, what you are saying about the Republican Party and its availability, at least its openness to hear the foreign policy message, is part of the reason that I think that Jon Huntsman, even if he is only starting in New Hampshire, is worth listening to, because part of Jon Huntsman's core message is let's get out of Afghanistan and get out of there now. He also is mixing that message by saying we should have stayed in Iraq longer, but at least he is making a gesture toward this idea that some of these wars got to end sometime. And I think that may actually make him, it may resonate at least if Ron Paul does very well tonight in Iowa, and Jon Huntsman's there to collect some of that feeling in New Hampshire.
Well, he's half right.
He's half right.
But Richard, Ron Paul is a disastrous vehicle for the anti-war message in the Republican Party, because there's so many other reasons why Republicans should not be in favor of him. He is to the right of every Republican on Medicare and Social Security. He would abolish them. You know that he is to the right of everyone in this country on the Civil Rights Act. Yep. Segregated restaurants were okay with him. You know, you had that interview with him, which will last forever, as one of the biggest reasons why Republicans should stay away from him. I think it's fantastic that there's someone who delivers an anti-war message in those debates to those Republican audience who would never hear it otherwise. But he's got all these other serious defects in his candidacy.
And so Jon Huntsman.
The tractionless Jon Huntsman.
Huntsman doesn't have the civil rights baggage and the other baggage. That's but I mean, when you add, that's why I said he's extreme right, he's left when it comes to war. But how are you going to vote for a guy that says that the Civil Rights Act of '64 is wrong and government shouldn't interfere with privacy, which is anti-women's rights, immigration rights? I mean, he's to the far end on both sides, and I think it does open the door for Huntsman. But according to what Tamron's saying, he may appeal to a lot of young people. The question is, can he bring them out tonight? And so far tonight, we haven't seen that.
Well, he also brings up these outlandish proposals saying how many bases we have around the world and asking the question to the crowd, how long have we been in Japan? How long have we been in Korea? How long have we been in Germany? I'm going to end all that and bring them all home and shut them down. I mean, you can't do it. I mean, how could the Republicans ever embrace something like that? He has an isolationist attitude that's on steroids. And the Republicans will never be able to embrace that in any way, shape, or form.
Won New Hampshire, preaching that in 1996. I'm telling you, it's all Jon Huntsman. I'm the only person in America who believed this. All right, Iowa's got more than 1,700 precincts in action tonight. We will look in on one of them. That is just ahead. MSNBC's coverage of the Iowa caucuses continues in just a moment.
You've got it in you to go the whole distance.
Prime Minister?
Against all odds,
I will never be truly one of them.
she defied convention.
Never in the West has there ever been a woman Prime Minister.
Beyond all doubt, she changed a nation.
We will stand on principle, or we will not stand at all.
Winner, Best Actress from the New York Film Critics Circle. Golden Globe nominee Meryl Streep is electrifying.
Gentlemen, shall we join the ladies?
The Iron Lady. Rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere, January 13th.
With Expedia Rewards, I now earn points however I travel.
Here's your hot towel, sir.
Oh, thanks. Even if I can't always fly the same airline.
Careful, it's very hot.
Or stay at the same hotel. Because now, with Expedia Rewards, I earn points for any flight and any hotel, too. I've been known to do a little bit of skiing, so maybe... rewards any way I travel. Except naked. What a shame. Expedia.com.
The more you lose, the more you lose. Because for every 2 pounds you lose through diet and exercise, Ally can help you lose 1 more by blocking some of the fat you eat. Let's fight fat with Ally.
I come in peace.
But you go in pieces. You can't pass Mom's inspection with lots of pieces left behind. That's why there's Charmin Ultra Strong. Its diamond weave texture is soft and more durable, so it holds up better. Fewer pieces left behind. Charmin Ultra Strong.
To the 5 a.m. scholar, the 2 trains and a bus rider, the I'll sleep when it's done academic. For 80 years, we've been inspired by you, and we've been honored to walk with you, to help you get where you want to be. Because your moment is now. Let nothing stand in your way. Learn more at keller.edu.
With arthritis, standing all day is hard on my knees, so I use new Capsaicin Quick Relief Gel with purified capsaicin.
Capsaicin starts working on contact and works at the nerve level, blocking pain signals for hours.
New Capsaicin takes the pain out of arthritis.
Uh-oh. When diarrhea hits, Kaopectate stops it fast. Powerful liquid relief speeds to the source fast to stop diarrhea and get your system back to normal.
Fast.
Stop the fast with Kaopectate.
Products Country says you're approved, guaranteed.
I wanted a new computer, but I couldn't get financed.
If you have an active checking account and can afford low, flexible payments, you're already approved, guaranteed. There's no credit check, so you won't be turned down.
Tronics Country approved me quickly.
I got instant approval, and it was easy.
And with your paid order, we'll add a free color printer, free MP3 music player, and free LCD TV. Call now and tell us where you want your brand new computer and free gifts shipped today.
At this hour, the Iowa Republican caucuses are too early to call. But based on the early entrance polling, we can say that Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, and Rick Santorum are the three candidates who are competing to win tonight in Iowa. Let's check back in on one of the caucus sites, Summit Middle School, which is in Johnston, Iowa. That's just outside of Des Moines. NBC's Ron Mott is there. Ron, how are things going?
Hey, Rachel, well, they have just voted to suspend any further stump speeches from the campaigns themselves. They are now voting. They're taking those presidential preference polls as I speak. Already tonight, we have heard from Rick Santorum, making a final plea to these voters himself in person. Anita Perry came here to stump for her husband, Texas Governor Rick Perry. J.C. Watts was here speaking on behalf of Newt Gingrich. Josh Romney was here to speak on behalf of his father, former Governor Mitt Romney. And there was a surrogate here for Michelle Bachmann as well. So the voters have heard from these folks. They are investing a lot of time tonight to listen, and now they're about to be heard. They're going to write down the name of the candidates that they support on a simple piece of paper. All of those pieces of paper will end up back at the front of the room here, and then they will count them. The candidates will stand over that process to make sure that every vote is counted, and then at the end of this process, they will announce those results. Everyone scurries home, turn on the television perhaps, and then they're hoping that at the end of the night that their candidate is the leader of the pack. As we've been reporting all weekend, so many voters were coming into these caucus meetings undecided or in a position to say they could be swayed at the last minute by these stump speeches. There were some emotional moments here. Rand Paul talking about his dad in really emotional terms and how hard he has worked on the ground here. Rick Santorum talked about how you have to come to Iowa. You can't buy the vote here. You must earn it. And that got a lot of applause here in this middle school cafeteria today. So we should know here in relative short order how they are preferring their candidates here, at least at this precinct. Rachel?
Ron Mott, thank you. Let's check in now with the Romney campaign and with the Santorum campaign. NBC News correspondent Peter Alexander is at Romney campaign headquarters in Iowa, and NBC's Kelly O'Donnell is at Santorum campaign headquarters. Kelly, let's start with you. What are you hearing tonight from Santorum's folks, and how optimistic are they?
Well, they do feel good about it, and one of the biggest ways they can identify that is they say fundraising has gone up about 350% in the past 6 days. As Ron was telling us, Rick Santorum is out talking to voters in the final hours tonight. He and his wife, Karen, each hitting about 4 of those caucus sites. They feel good about it because they think they did it the old school way. He's done about 380 town hall meetings in Iowa, spent more than 100 days in the state, and much of that time went largely unnoticed, or it was a very intimate setting, very different than what we've seen on the campaign trail with him the last few days, where there has been not only an enormous national media presence, but international media as well. That struck me when I was out on the road with him. So what they hope to do is to be able to consolidate not only the support of people who have had a chance to meet him, but reaching out to those Christian conservatives who might have had interest in Rick Perry or Michelle Bachmann, who've also done so much to try to reach that evangelical vote. Consolidating that. They're also ready to jump ahead to the next couple of states, saying that they will have him on the ground in New Hampshire tomorrow evening with events in South Carolina, trying to make this more than an Iowa moment for Rick Santorum and trying to show that retail politicking, the old way of meeting people and talking to folks without as much money, could make an impact. Rachel?
Kelly, you've seen a lot of campaigns up close, I know. What is your assessment of the scalability of the Santorum campaign, about whether or not they can actually handle the increased capacity that will be necessary from them just organizationally if they are now expected to compete as a top-tier campaign both in New Hampshire and in South Carolina and beyond?
Well, what they talk about is the help they have from volunteers. Like here in Iowa, they've got about 1,300 precinct captains to help